am among the ministers of God. I love the direction and approach of this because it means something different than what is actually right on the surface where it seems to be and what it's about, right? That's why it actually gets into talking about how the messenger that you are and the minister that you are is actually supposed to receive the message first, and then you can give it, right? So you give it to accept that you've received it. You won't be giving it or teaching it if you don't realize and recognize that you have it. So often we like to hesitate and keep ourselves from teaching because we believe that, or sharing, we believe we don't quite understand it yet, or I don't know the answers yet. I only have a hint of it, or I kind of understand it, but no, I don't know for sure. So I don't want to lead someone astray because I don't want to give them the wrong information. And we think of it as if it's worldly objects, like I have to have the object in order to give the object. I have to clearly have the object, and it's not. It's actually a very profound thing that once you start sharing it or even attempting to teach it, if it's just talk about it and say, hey, have you heard about this, like heard about A Course in Miracles for an example, or just actually deliberately trying to teach it, whatever it might be, it starts to become more clear in your own mind. When someone is receiving it and they're accepting it, they're even just the communication between you, or even just hearing it with like I'm just sending it out to you, it becomes more clear in your own mind naturally, and you feel the difference between keeping it to yourself and sharing it. It's a pretty remarkable thing that I remember very palpably recognizing when someone was listening to my podcast the first time when I was going through A Course in Miracles. And I could tell when people were listening and when no one listened. As little as it happened, I can tell when it was being received, because I was all of a sudden just like passionate. I was filled with spirit. I was talking about it. It was making sense. It was clear, and I learned as I spoke. Yeah, I learned as I spoke. I still do today. But it's a pretty remarkable thing how we misunderstand it just because we're so obsessed with the way and the laws, the shape of the world, that the giving and the receiving is actually the same thing. So, of course, the ultimate understanding of what this is actually the fact that what that is that you're receiving is you're learning. You're learning. You're among the ministers of God, not just saying, hey guys, I'm in the crowd of a bunch of ministers. I'm one of the ministers of God, right? But in fact, that I am among all the many ministers of God. That the voice of God speaks. The spiritual universe is in and among everyone. It is through everyone. And that if I want to receive the message that I am to offer, I must listen. I must receive it from, say, the saviors of the world. It's so easy to think that the world's full of just stupid people. The problematic people that just, it's just a crazy place, disgusting place. Can't trust anybody. And you'll never be able to hear or receive the message thinking like that. You'll never be able to discover God when others are enemies, when others are separate or something less than you. If you don't want to recognize that they are literally the voice of God teaching you, there's something lessons in them that they have to teach you, to share with you, then you won't be able to discover what, say, God is. You can talk about it all day, but until you actually are applying it in the sense of quite literally in that very instant, in that very moment when you're dealing with other people, can I see them as Holy Spiritual Universe speaking for God? Because yes, it speaks for you as well because of what you are. It's a very trippy thing because it gets tighter and smaller, and even as dimensions have more variables like this, height, height, width, length, depth. And then you take away a dimension, it gets smaller. Take away a dimension, it gets smaller. Take away a dimension, it gets smaller. So in that same sense, as there's many, many things in this world, you take away a dimension, it gets smaller. You take away another dimension, it gets smaller. You take away another. There's only within yourself. And so it's in that same sense that as you're taking it all away, you're coming back to where it all began. And in the beginning of all existence, the Father and the Son were no different. That in fact, the Son is, yes, begat from the Father. However, the Son is the Father. The Father and the Son are literally one. There's no two ones. There's no three ones. There's only one. Now, of course, yes, in alternate dimensions there can be different variables, different parts, different aspects, it can seem like more, but in that same first or zeroth dimension there is still only one. And that zeroth dimension is here now. It's still here now. A dimension is a way of looking, another way of looking at the exact same thing that's occurring right now. The exact same thing that is still in the same place. And so even additional dimensions is that it doesn't change where you're at right now. It doesn't change this place. It is more to it. That there's more to be seen. Even here, more to explore. See how that is? So it's a rather interesting thing as you're trying to figure out how you're a minister of God, what this means, but it definitely does benefit you to attempt to share or talk about it. Not in any sort of way of forcing it or somehow insisting and preaching and anything like that. Just kind of hinting thoughts, just kind of hinting. I have absolutely no urge to preach to anybody about anything or to share this message any more than I do here. I do now. Occasionally, of course, I will say random things to people, and I'll be dealing with people in different fashions in public and in different ways that, of course, is not up to me. It's for the message to be delivered, right? And what that is for. And it's the strangest things. I can say some stuff I think is so profound, and then I say something that's just off the cuff. And years later, I hear that off-the-cuff thing is what touched them. That's what got to them. All the inspiration stuff, I don't remember them saying that, right? I don't remember you saying any of that. But that when you said this, whoa. And it really was unique and not up to you in the first place. And it still isn't this tiny little self of yours. Yeah, who you really are. Alternate dimensional reality? Yes. Who you are here? No. No. Nope. Now, of course, is everybody cut out to be a teacher? Directly serious teacher like myself? No, not everybody's to do that. But if you do, I highly recommend it. Start a podcast, start YouTube series, whatever it might be, and just do whatever you can and feel inspired to do. But make sure you feel inspired, because often you try and do things that you're not really inspired to because you think it's better than or noble. Follow your inspiration. You're designed for a very specific reason, and what that reason is what will come naturally and you'll be motivated to do.